In this video we will add a HMI to the project and map some bits to and from. So under my PLC I can insert easiest to do it by Nepro, I forget what it's called, stations, schematic HMI.
Our project's already got it,
Yeah. So you go and find your HMI. So I'm going to use an older 15-inch MP337 touchscreen and that version there. Okay. The HMI software is called WinCC Flexible. It is a bit slow to load, but it's quite nice software. So here's our HMI. Again, let's make it Profibus and address 1. Our PLC is 2, and let's put it on the Profibus network. You could also have Ethernet, but we don't have an Ethernet network here, so that's fine. Let's give it a name. Let's open a hardware manager, close this, save and compile that. Compile everything. We're getting a warning because the HMI industrial Ethernet is not assigned to a network. It's not physically connected, but if we want that alarm to go away, we'll just create a connection there. No errors now. So here's our HMI added to our project, and we can rename it over here, HMI. It takes a bit to rename. I see we've got some German language settings still ticked. So to open it up, you've got to drop the box down and come into the WinCC Flexible Runtime. Right click and open object. And this is WinCC Flexible. So this is what you use to make your HMI. Yes. So first we'll go to connections. So there's 2 connections set up here by default, and they're both off. So one's our Profinet IO and one's our MPI DP. So let's turn our Profibus one on and call it it's connection to, it's our PLC DP, that's our connection. It's online. You should untick cyclic operation. That's for when you're using HMI buttons and etc. as IO, but it really adds network strain. So if you don't need it, untick it. And the HMI device is not the only master on the bus. The PLC is the master, so we'll untick that one. I'd get confused with settings of master on the bus, so if things don't work you can always play around with those. So we've got our connection here. So let's go and add some buttons and text. So if I close this, if you lose that window, view tools. So you've got tools over here. Simple tools is mostly what you need. There's enhanced for sliders and graphics and trend windows, other images and libraries, but we'll just use simple tools. There's the properties tab, which allows you to change your properties for each object, and then there's your output tab for compiling. So if I hit generate, it's going to compile. Obviously there's nothing to compile at the moment, except I'm not allowed the device name HMI, so we'll change that. Test bench HMI. Try and compile again. 0 errors. So that's done. Over here we have our screens. Templates are used for, say, like menu buttons, navigation bars across the bottom. So if I had a few buttons down here, I can have those buttons carry across onto multiple pages. So if I went to screen 1, those buttons are there, but I can't modify them because they're part of my template, but it just gives you a good consistent navigation bar and alarm logs and stuff like that. So under our main page, let's have a button, and this one can be, we'll do something a bit fancy. We'll make a text list, and so this is going to, when I press the button, I'm going to turn on a bit, memory bit 10.0, which is my run bit for my motor, and I'm going to get some status of that motor enable bit and use the motor enable to change what text is on here. So under our text lists, if motor enable is going to be 0, we'll say press to start motor. If motor enable is high, motor running. I might put a shift enter for the end of line. Go back to my, and this can be called motor start PB list. So on my screen, I'm going to use this text list, and what's going to change it is my motor enable. So when I click on my tag, under communication is tags. So these are all the tags that are currently mapped and used in the WinCC software. We haven't used anything yet, there's nothing mapped, so we need to go via the PLC. Where is it? So we're going to come into Motors DB, and it's going to be motor enable. So at the moment it is 0.5. So if motor enable is 0, I'm going to get text of press to start motor. If motor enable is 1, I'm going to get the other text of motor running. So now we've got to actually put some actions on this. So when I like to do it on the release. So when I take my finger off the button, when I release it, I'm going to edit a bit, and I'm going to invert a bit. So you can set and reset for jog buttons. Again, my memory run machine here is M, so I'm going to invert that bit when I press that button. Save and compile. I've got one error that location of or size of screen object is invalid. It's going off the margin of the screen, so for this one here, but I'll just get rid of that. No errors, no warnings. So I've now got a button that's going to start and stop my motor. If I wanted to view I can have an input and an output for speed set point and actual speed. So let's make this one an input only, and it is speed set point, and it's a number of no decimal points, 999, so it's a 3-digit number, so 0 to 100, and it's changing that. You can also change colors and make it flash and visible at certain times, but we won't do that. And let's have a output of the actual speed, and again 0 to 100 will be the number for that. a bit ugly. So if we generate that, so that's generated successfully. So to download this, you would click the download button and need to set up how you're going to download to the HMI. So we are talking across Profibus and it is station address 1. I'll go through these 4. So there's enable back transfer. So if you want to suck up the HMI from a panel, you'll need this ticked. It copies more files to a CF card. Override password list. So you'll have different user levels. If you change those passwords, you need to tick this box to actually enforce the change of passwords. You can set the HMI up for recipes. You want to download new recipes. Generally, you don't want to do this or this one. And pack and go is I think it zips it and sends it in like a single file instead of multiple files. There you go. So I apply that. So that I've hit apply. So that should just remember those settings. So if I download again, I hit transfer, and it tries to download. I can't actually download to the HMI that I have here, so this is going to fail. What I will try. So even though I can't download to a screen, I can simulate this. So we can start runtime system and it will bring up a simulation of my screen here. If I go to my code of my motor code, and I'm just going to try and show this on the one window. Go online. You'll see that it actually only views online from when your cursor is. So if I click up here, yeah, I'm getting that. So if I go press start motor, it turns that bit on, which turns my enable on, my text changes. What I'll just actually do is I'll make a change here. I'm going to do a move. Motor DB. So I'm just going to take my speed set point and write it as my actual speed to simulate a motor turning. So we'll download that, made that change and download. So I want to go 67%, enter. My actual speed is now 67%, and we can see it over here, 43 hexadecimal. If we go representation, change it to decimal, it's 67. I can go 89. There's no limits put in here, so you can actually go, I want to go 136%, and it's going to think that it's doing it. In your HMI software, you can do limits, so you can do limits coloring there, but under the tags for the speed set point, under there, properties, limits. So you can actually put in limits there. So I've got an upper limit of a constant variable of 100 and a lower limit of 0. These can be tags, so they can be variable limits. You can alarm off them. I prefer to do my limiting in the PLC because it makes it easier to debug when you're monitoring the PLC. These are a bit hidden, and if your PLC writes to the bits, these limits aren't enforced. So we'll close down the runtime, recompile, and download, sorry not download, simulate. If I try to go 50, it's going to go 50. If I try to go 120, it's telling me that my max is 100, and it won't take it. It's still 50. 140. I haven't given it a valid number. My speed set point is still 50. 89. It's happy with that. Close that.